has been discussion about a potential colonization of the planet Mars, and how, despite the planet's harsh and uninhabitable climate, civilization might be possible with the latest and developing NASA technology. But how do we know if we are truly the first living species to achieve this feat? What if there is an alien species in the far reaches of the galaxy that have already cracked the code and have survived in multiple different planets? One such examples are the Cybertronians, the transforming giant alien robots from, well, Transformers. In most continuities, they have a tendency to bring the war to Earth, and in some others, notably comics, even ravage, decimate, or ruin other planets because of their warmongering and survival tendencies. However, the final chapter of the Unicorn trilogy, Transformers Cybertron, introduces Colony Planets, where certain generations of Cybertronians migrated eons ago and became specialized in whatever climate the planet may have. Better yet, unlike other planets of our solar system, through the Autobots' human allies Kobe, Laurie, and Bud visiting these colony planets, we know that they can sustain human life. So today, just for fun, I'm going to be ranking every single Transformers Cybertron colony planet based on how well it can accommodate human settlement. First, we have some rules. Planets are ranked from worst to best, and factors for where a planet lands in the ranking include Cybertronian inhabitants, environment, survivability, natural resources, and more. Finally, this video is just my personal opinion, as this video is made for the sole purpose of entertainment. I'm no expert in cosmology, so do take my opinions with a pinch of salt. And of course, spoiler warning for Transformers Cybertron. Without further ado, let's take off from Earth and begin the ranking, starting with the least inhabitable Cybertronian colony planet. Planet X pulls off a weird demented hat trick of sorts, as it was destroyed in a devastating war, so the planet is no longer around. However, even if Planet X was still around, it would have been an extremely poor planet for human survival. Planet X was known for being a highly technologically developed planet, where the inhabitants live in what seem to be futuristic cities. We never probably see what the environment of Planet X looks like beyond that. However, the Japanese version of Transformers Cybertron, always known as Galaxy Force, established in ancillary media that Planet X used to be part of the dark god Unicron. Going off this interpretation, this is already quite the terrible start. In most continuities, Unicron consumes other planets, and any inhabitants or environments are further digested on the inside. If we take Transformers Armada, which is set before the events of Cybertron, Unicron had dead-end drones which shoot anyone who even sets foot on a planet, and shifting soil which can absorb people's essence and cause them to hallucinate. Whether or not Planet X still retains these environmental features is up for debate, as we see Cybertronians living in some tower-like structures safely. But another environmental factor we definitely do know is that life on the planet is slowly beginning to die, so it will be very counterproductive going to a planet whose resources are more depleted than Earth. Worse yet, the Cybertronian inhabitants of Planet X consists of mercenaries, thieves, and warriors with technological enhancements. The two survivors of the planet's destruction that we do know of may be charismatic and a bit silly, but both are dangerous individuals. Sideways manipulates both Autobot and Decepticon factions for his own gain, and Soundwave has a range of deadly weapons and powers at his disposal, along with a vengeful desire to destroy Gigantion. Speaking of, the inhabitants of Planet X tried invading Gigantion for its energy and environmentally rich resources, and ultimately lost because one of their giant laser cannons malfunctioned, causing the planet to explode. So, no matter if Planet X is around or not, because of its dangerous inhabitants and dying environment, it is simply not a viable planet for sustaining human life. Oh, Jungle Land, they call you home, sweet home. You make me feel so sad. My god, I'm such a terrible singer. Animatros, aka the Jungle Planet, is home to Cybertronians who have taken on animal forms to adapt to the tropical environment of the planet. It's got oceans, mountains, and volcanoes. Hey, kind of like our planet. There is the odd volcano eruption and man-eating plants sometimes, but it wouldn't be too bad of a problem if we are well prepared for these scenarios and we live in a more safer area of the planet. At least, that's what I would say if the planet wasn't a straight-up dictatorship. The planet's ruler, Scourge, goes by a might makes right code, where if you're triumphant in a battle, you essentially earn your citizen rights.
The strong rule and the weak obey. That is the law on this planet.
As small, pathetic, fleshy humans, not even our strongest prize boxers could be the weakest Cybertronian in Animatros. Mike Tyson vs. Brimstone, anyone? No? Well, the fight would be too one-sided, as Brimstone would have a height and flight advantage, and not even Lil Mac could find a clever way to take down Undermine. Scourge does make honorable exceptions to his rules, as unjustified killings and sabotage are frowned upon the planet's culture. Additionally, the whole reason why the planet is a dictatorship in the first place is because the planet was at first plagued by disorder and chaos, especially from raider attacks. Our desire to use the planet's resources for survival would not win Scourge's approval whatsoever. Not all the denizens of Animatros are bad, however. Snarl, though a bit on the reserve side, disapproves of Scourge's leadership, and Backstop is a more peaceful warrior, and is definitely welcoming of any visitors. If anyone from Animatros would be a suitable tour guide, it's certainly him. Overall, although resource-rich, the planet's customs will make it impossible to live peacefully with the authoritarian residents of a planet. Disappointing, but it's just not worth the risk. Come on though, Gilberto Ramirez vs. Scourge, I'd love to see that. Velocitron, aka the Speed Planet, is where every Cybertronian who drives at the speed of an F-Zero machine live, who get around through built racetracks throughout the planet. As one may guess, the planet's culture revolves around racing, with the Speedia 5000 Grand Prix being races which decide who becomes the planet's ruler. So, for sightseeing, Velocitron certainly succeeds, but it would be rather stupid traveling light years just to see maybe one race or two, then come back. So what about living life in Velocitron? Residents are more of a mixed bag this time around. Some Velocitronians are accommodating like Breakdown and Clocker, some can be a bit arrogant like the planet's current ruler Override, and then you get outright aggressive criminals like the infamous duo of Ransack and Crumple Zone. So trying to find a friendly face to be your guide is possible but a bit difficult. However, Velocitron's biggest flaw, and the very thing that places it this low in the countdown, is the climate, which is a hot, desolate desert. It's fine with Velocitronians who don't need to consume any food, however, we humans need water to survive. We may bring a huge cylinder of water at first, but then what happens if it runs out? While it's true that you can mine water on deserts in Earth, it's only because there are plants or the occasional lake around. Velocitron doesn't have any lakes or plants, with the only proper terrain being caves, cliffs, and scrapyards. So unless you want to dehydrate while watching races for the rest of your life, Velocitron is not a great plan to establish civilization in the long term, unless you terraform Velocitron. Okay, so quick off-script correction here. In the episode Hero, it's actually noted that Velocitron does indeed have rain, so there is some kind of water cycle in the planet.
No way! That's what you rat racers said last time!
We must have heard it wrong or something.
This time is totally on the up and up, I swear!
Because of this, it might actually be possible to mine water from Velocitron. Despite it being the only episode where rain is on Velocitron, I've decided to since then amend its placement to third place. Because although resources may be a bit scarce, at least the entire planet isn't hostile. Gigantion, aka Gigalonia and Galaxy Force, is the hardest planet to travel to, as it got sucked by a wormhole into a parallel universe years ago. It will take light years to get there, and even when you go through the wormhole, it will cause severe disorientation. Everyone will need to be vaccinated before travel, barring children who are immune to the effects of a wormhole, due to them having a similar brain structure to the Minicon residents of a planet. Yes, this is actually a major plot point of the show, I am not kidding. Once you arrive, one thing will become apparent. Gigantion is massive. As a side effect of the cyber planet key enlarging a planet, the residents are as a result about the size of Godzilla. So, much larger than the average Cybertronian, who in comparison will be the height of a Capital Summertime Ball stage, just to put things in perspective. But don't let the Gigantion's imposing size scare you, for that the residents are super friendly. As long as you're not from that dreaded Planet X, Metroplex is always keen and enthusiastic to show you around. Gigantion has a culture around building massive cities, which cover the planet in multiple layers. All of them are uninhabited, so there are plenty of houses to go round, and the inner layer of Gigantion has the exact same environment as Earth. Because of the layers, the lighting is only simulated and not natural, and only the more outer layers of the planet have a day and night cycle. The layers are constructed, however, to open, so that natural lights could be let through. Well, we're finally sorted. Gigantion, with its empty buildings, natural resources, and friendly locals, means we finally have a suitable planet to sustain human life. Except, there is one rule holding everything back. You probably have been asking, why are the cities uninhabited? Likely as a result of a potential damage caused by Planet X's war on Gigantion. There is a rule as stated by QuickMix.
We live our lives by the motto, always look forward, never back. And though you may not agree, you must follow our rules while you're here.
The sad truth is, the cities are abandoned immediately after they're fully constructed, along with data pertaining to the planet's history left behind with it. Any actions taken to explore the lower levels of Gigantion would be rewarded with ostracization from society, and that same rule applies sadly for the visitors too. Unless Menasor leads a successful rebellion, chances of living in Gigantion are rendered unlikely because of this custom, and the outer layer buildings are mostly made with purely steel and brick, so resource gathering would be a bit limited, and it would be likely the Gigantians would need these materials to build their empty cities. We can't afford any sightseeing, especially as we traveled light years far to Gigantion, only to be denied access to the lower levels of the planet. It's a shame really, considering how easy it would be to colonize otherwise of all the pre-built cities. But there is one more Cybertronian colony planet left. One which has all the bare necessities for human survival. And that planet is...
I can't believe you've done this.
So, believe it or not, the best Cybertronian colony planet is the very planet we all live in. Oh, the irony. Some explanation is really needed here. Naturally, Cybertronians could convert into vehicles and live among us. However, the Cybertron cartoon goes into a bit more detail. I'm sure you're aware of some famous monsters or urban legends like Dracula, Bigfoot, sirens, etc. They were actually all disguises ancient Decepticons took to maliciously scare humans. Just because. The only Cybertronians who disapproved of this was Evac and Crosswise, who took to locking up the ancient Decepticons and sealed them in cylinders under icy caps. The Autobot pair have since then lived in disguise, and served as protectors of the human race. If that's the case, where were they in Armada and Energon? Suffice to say, the Unicron trilogy isn't the most consistent continuity in Transformers out there. Enough lore rambling, now about Earth itself. We practically know the deal with Earth. Breathable atmosphere, extraordinary locations and landmarks, interesting cultures, etc. Earth is also the most diverse planet on this list. We have many areas dominated by jungles and rainforests, many Mediterranean desert areas, even many snowy mountainous areas too. The list could go on. Yeah, there is the odd dictator or tyrant or two, but at least they're mostly only confined to a certain country, and not dominating the entire planet. Looking at you, Scourge. I personally think we're lucky to be in such a great planet like Earth, and for that reason alone, it ranks number 1 on this countdown. However, Transformers Cybertron isn't the only Transformers series to feature different planets. Even from G1, we were introduced to plenty of wacky and interesting planets. So, which Cybertronian colony planets do you think would be perfect for human colonization? I'm open to any opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.